Hello, everybody. Long time no talk, huh? I hope you're all doing great out there. At least I hope you're doing fine, or at the very least, hanging in there, all things considered. This new, quote, golden age of freedom and prosperity has started off with a bang, literally. We have assassinations and murders of Christians and conservatives almost daily at this point. Regardless of how you feel about what has happened and what your theories on the situation are, my heart goes out to the entire nation right now, the entire world who is grieving the loss of Charlie Kirk and grieving the loss of trust, the loss of our high expectations, our high hopes that we could actually see some form of honesty in our government, in our FBI, that we might actually get the truth in situations like this sometimes. Although everybody's rolling with the punches, I have noticed a real shift in the atmosphere since the Epstein files fiasco. A lot of people were really hurt when the president, basically turned on his base and called us names and tried to make everybody feel stupid, telling them to just stop asking questions and get over it. And then to see Kash Patel and how he has acted about it, that there aren't any victims, It's just, I think the whole country is grieving the loss of trust and hope. And let us not forget all of the others who have been assassinated. I know the Charlie Kirk thing is taking up all the news coverage and things like that, but we also had these children, the Christian children. They weren't famous by worldly standards, but we also had innocent children assassinated by another trans school shooter who was wound up and turned loose on American Christians. Then, of course, in the last couple of days, we've also had the shootings at the ICE immigration facility, and that's not the first one. They're shooting up all the facilities and attacking the ICE officers. And this is just in the last few days, or the last week or two. It's been nonstop. I haven't been on here, but since the beginning of the year, it's been nonstop attacks. And these are just the ones that actually did make the headlines. There are untold thousands upon thousands of scientists and doctors, pharmaceutical makers that have all been assassinated. They never make the headlines. Unless you're somebody like Benjamin Netanyahu, who gets celebrated for it, or at least operates with impunity. If it's like the American attacks, they'll get a blip, like 2-second coverage, and then nobody talks about it anymore. Our facilities, all of our food processing plants, the hydroxychloroquine plants, they all get burned down and attacked, and our scientists get killed, and it's just kind of like, covered up in the news and move on. Because I guess that people would be held accountable, or we like to think that, I don't know. But if you're Netanyahu, then you just, you get front page coverage, and it's just like, yeah, I assassinated people with pagers. Big deal. What you gonna do about it? Now, Israel gets to assassinate anybody they want, anytime they want, in any country they want. And if you question that, you're probably a racist hater, just like that Charlie Kirk. I mean, who supported Israel and loved Israel and was on his way to Israel and was the best friend of Israel, by the way.
Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread. Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel. He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security. Now some are peddling these disgusting rumors, perhaps out of obsession, perhaps with Qatari funding. What I do know is this: Charlie Kirk was a great man, and a great man deserves honor, not lies. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk.
If you're somebody like Benjamin Netanyahu, you get to brag about it. You're like, if you are a scientist who have any knowledge of nuclear sciences then we're going to assassinate you in your apartment while you sleep. And they just go in and they're like, hey, successful operation. We assassinated all the scientists last night. It's like, okay, all right. But the good news is, right here 2 days ago, President Trump declares it's the golden age of America. Love it. A new golden age begins. Woohoo! I'm just kidding. Here's some good news. Jim Jordan says, breaking news, due to our oversight efforts, Google sent this letter to Congress. Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations to return to the platform. And that's not all. And then he posted all of the letters. So they were like, hey, we're committed to free speech and we're going to let everybody come back. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really happening. I cannot believe it. These people who crushed my life, who literally destroyed my life, just completely took all my income away overnight with no notice, just literally almost lost my house, my car. I mean, it's been like a nightmare ever since. For what's it been? 5 years, 4 years? I've been struggling just to even pay my electric bill, trying to rebuild my life. What these people did, deplatforming me, banking me, like trying to destroy my life. I'm like, yes, finally. Oh, wait, here's the update. Nope, no golden age for me. Not for me. Google and YouTube just refused to reinstate my channel, and I'm still censored from civil discourse. Their fake letters to Congress may sound good, but here in the real world, they mean absolutely nothing. And I posted the message they sent me. How this will affect your channel. We won't be putting your channel back up on YouTube. They said my voice violates their community guidelines, and it's their job to make sure that YouTube is a safe place for all. Just not me. And it's been the same with all the other channels, so it was basically just BS. But it's okay. While us single moms are out here working 3 jobs and can't even make ends meet, it is the golden age of America, baby. The stock market is hitting all-time highs. I mean, seriously, who would have ever thought? All-time highs? Dow's up at like almost 47,000, 46 and some change. So the billionaires are making bank. I mean, they are getting richer by the second. They're like made of gold. They got like golden chairs, golden faucets. Good times. Good times. Freedom and prosperity. Yeah. I'm just trying to stay positive, trying to have a laugh and stay positive while we all wait to see if what is coming is the Great Tribulation or if it is this wonderful, blissful golden age. So I guess it's incumbent on all of us patriots to just overlook the daily assassinations and the Christian children being murdered and just try to just not look at that and focus on the good, the freedoms we have. I had the freedom this week to choose between shutting my phone off or paying my water bill. So, I paid my water bill. And that's the choice I had. I have freedom of choice in the United States of America. Okay, let's get to it. You guys wondering where I've been? I know some of you have been wondering. I'm fine. It's been, what it's been. Everybody's been going through it. Spiritual warfare, financial warfare. It's been awful. Heartbreak of watching people die all around us, and while everybody's pretending that this is just normal. This is the new normal. So we've all been hanging in there. I'm alive and well. My family's alive and well. So I praise God for that. Really, nothing else matters. And I'm still out here getting the gospel out every way I can, despite the beast system working against me every way they can. I'm still pushing forward, beating back the darkness with whatever little thing I have left in my hand. So I wanted to get on here and give a couple words of encouragement as well as some warnings. What I was doing is I've been uploading a 140 video archive onto the 3 or 4 platforms that I'm still active on. So I've been talking about it for 2 years that I needed to break down these videos. They're all 6 and 7 hours. And they were valuable videos. There's valuable information in them, but you got to admit, besides people like us with really long attention spans, the culture that we are in, they want TikTok videos. Like, people just don't click on this. I mean, they all got, you see 70, 80, 90,000 views. So it's not that they're not being watched, but I just want to reach so many more people. We can get the information into so many more hands and minds if I break them down. So I've been breaking them down, trying to keep all of the segments around an hour or less. And then I'm re-uploading the entire archive in shorter videos, about hour-long videos, because people will watch those. Also a lot of like 30-minute videos, and that's as short as I can break it down. Although I did set up XRC shorts on all of the channels, so we're going to try to make, the TikTok size videos that point people back to the larger video. Anyway, I'm almost done with that. But while I was plugging away at that, I came across this AI video that didn't get very many views, and it was just one of those that I threw up. You read an article and it's just like, oh, this is such valuable information. And I rushed it out. It was like, I don't know, 15, 18 minutes, something like that. And I wanted to rework it before I uploaded it and just add some new context to it, because it didn't get a lot of views, and it's so important that I really, really wanted to get the information out. So instead of just re-uploading it to all the video platforms, I popped it in the video editor, and then this thing with Charlie Kirk happened. So since I haven't been online or uploaded a new video in so long, I thought I would take this opportunity to talk to you guys right now. I think it's pretty clear to everybody right now that things are not as they appear, and that we are completely being lied to. There is something much, much bigger going on here, that there are multiple people involved, multiple agencies involved. As always, they lie to us about everything, and there's such a broad spectrum of different beliefs about what is going on. I'm not going to get into all of the minutia about that right now. I'm just standing back and I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see what information comes out, wait and see how the government actually follows through or does not follow through, that type of thing. But everyone who is on the jump and run team, they're really doing some great work. They're out there pulling out some great information, great details, great theories, and they've really got a head start on it. So I'm compiling all of their work and everything, but I don't need to get on here and just regurgitate all of that for you guys right now. You guys know about it, I'm sure. I do just want to touch on some of the information that has come out that pertains to this video about artificial intelligence and about the DARPA N3 project, because as important as all of this is, and as heartbreaking as all of it is my personal belief and my calling from the Lord to focus on one thing that, in my opinion, is more important than anything else that is going on in the world right now. This covert transhumanist nanotechnology is the only existential crisis that goes beyond our bodily death. We're talking about the mark of the beast. We are, in my humble opinion, we are at the very end of this age. And this is all that matters at this point, because the Bible says those who take the mark of the beast cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. They will never get free. They will never have the will.
The big story of our era is the ability to hack human beings. Free will, that's over.
It's the end game in this spiritual war, the literal capture of our souls forever, eternally. So I have to stay focused on the call that God gave me from day one. And I know all of this is going on in the world and it's total chaos. I mean, it's the golden age. But please, I have to remind everybody that this is happening. And we cannot stop fighting for souls. We cannot stop trying to wake people up before they take the mark of the beast. So here's a post that I posted on May 10th of this year that kind of sums that up. I say this nanotechnology rollout is the single greatest threat to humankind right now. No political issue matters, no economic issue matters unless we stop this transhumanist agenda immediately. Even the external world wars don't matter at all if we don't win this biological war. The front lines, you guys, are our bodies. This is the temple of God, the temple of the Holy Spirit. All that Israel crap and the third temple and all that, we've dealt with that. We'll deal with it more in other videos. The temple, there is no third temple. That's why the Bible prophecies don't match up over there. The Bible prophecies say we're trying to keep the abomination out of God's temple, and there is no temple over there. And everybody's trying to make up all these, but they're going to build one, and then it's going to be, No, we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We are the temple of God. This is a biological warfare, and the front line is our bodies. They are after our mind and our bodies.
Humans are now hackable animals.
So I go on to say, the technocracy doesn't need to control us at the barrel of a gun. They have already unleashed biological AI warfare to enslave us from within our own bodies. All the money in the world is not my idea of a, quote, golden age if we have lost our free will to a non-human intelligence, aka an artificial intelligence.
Free will, that's over.
So that's where my attention is in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Yes, of course, like I said, my heart goes out to his family and to everyone, whether you are someone who is grieving him or whether you are someone who is grieving the fact that you feel like we are in the middle of a psychological operation that is going to result in a captivity so diabolical and so evil that our minds can really not even conceive of it. But those of us in the know are here for a reason at this particular point in world history, and there are still untold billions, with a B, billions of souls who do not understand what the mark of the beast is. They do not understand the repercussions of moving forward with this technocracy. Some of them celebrate it. They're like, yeah, hey, we're going to be healed. We're going to have the cure for cancer. They're completely oblivious that there could be ulterior motives. The majority, not just a few stragglers, lost souls, the majority, well over 50%. Of the population still are not aware that the DoD financed all of these different pharmaceutical companies, that they had all the contracts in place, that they're the ones who developed warp speed, that they're the ones who developed the AI, that created the code that was then injected into everybody. They're oblivious. They don't have any idea. And this is common knowledge. I mean, it's been laid out, it's exposed, it's done, but you're not going to hear it on CNN. And a lot of like the older generation, my parents' generation, they're not on Twitter or Rumble or, even really the internet very much outside of Facebook. And it's heavily governed by algorithms, by the AI itself. So like the Bible says, the harvest is vast, but the laborers are few. We have to, you guys, we have to unite. We can reach more people if we work together. So I'm asking you, please share this information. You guys know I'm not the one that's like, hey, ring the bell and share and like, and I'm not like that. I'm genuinely asking you from my heart, please share this information. Don't be embarrassed of the truth. Don't be scared of losing friends. There's no time for that. Plant the seed. If it's meant to grow, God will send someone to water it. Yes, some are going to fall on, rocky soil and they're not going to make it. But if you cast the seed out far and wide, if you really sow your seed generously, it's going to fall on some fertile soil and souls will be saved. And please consider supporting this work again so we can get back out on the internet while we still can use the internet. with this work, you know, it's been like a spiral. The less support that I have as people, you know, and the economy's tough. As the support falls off, then I can't post because I have to work more hours at my other jobs to survive. So then when I have to work more hours at my other jobs, then I post less. When I post less, then the supporters drop off. Then I have to work more hours at my other jobs, or I have to get a second job or a third job. And, you know, so the more I do that, then it's like now I can't even be online. I'm back in the hamster wheel completely. So I'm asking you to please consider supporting this work so that instead of just running in a hamster wheel doing, you know, worldly stuff, that we can be out here reaching souls, because time is running out. Not just time is running out in general, but time is running out to be able to use the internet. These events like this, the assassinations and the school shootings, they use all of this to take away more of our freedoms. You know, they're already talking about, oh, well, because this was planned, Charlie Kirk's assassination was planned on Discord and on social media. Well, we need to tighten down the censorship on social media more. And every single internet user, every single social media account, every Twitter handle, everything needs to be backed up by a verifiable government ID, a world ID, a real ID. So while the AI in the background, not publicly, but in the background, is constantly surveilling you and accumulating your social credit score, then they will know exactly who to come and get, which we know isn't just going to be used in the event of assassinations or mass shootings, so they can just go and pick up these people on Discord or these people who posted that stuff with foreknowledge of the assassination. It won't be used just for that. It's used for the social credit score. Unlike China, we don't do ours out in the open. We all have social credit scores, the algorithm already. That's how people get kicked off and deplatformed and stuff. It's an accumulation of points talking about the wrong things. And not just on your own channels and your own videos. Anything that you might comment on. I mean, you know, have you tried to comment on an article, any news article from any of the mainstream news sources where it has the little thing on the side where you can add a comment? Just try. I mean, I'll try to rewrite my 4-sentence comment 50 different ways, and it won't even let me post it. Because it's like, no, you are not allowed to have that opinion, basically. So we're reading people's comments thinking, boy, everybody feels this way. No, it's that the AI doesn't even allow you to speak, not just to punish you or me, but so that it can manipulate for social engineering. It can manipulate for peer pressure. But the point is, events like this, assassinations, where they make such a huge point to show us, oh, look, this was planned on social media and all of these people had foreknowledge. So then people like conservatives who are traditionally completely against them taking all of our privacy and completely tracking our every move and compiling a database on everybody for everything that you look at, then those types of freedom-loving patriots might be swayed in an event like this. All of a sudden they're like, yeah, go get them. We need to know who they are behind those usernames, you know, and it works on some people. And if you think I'm just being paranoid or I'm trying to be sensational for clicks, don't you realize this is already happening over in the UK? It's already happening. And they're not using it to stop assassinations. They're using it to stop regular people from looking at things they don't want them looking at. Their thought and speech police don't just want to stop you from saying things that they don't approve of, the speech. They want to literally control your thoughts. They don't want you looking at posts, like just viewing thoughts of other people that they deem you should not hear.
Look at this. This is insane. Starmer, apparently his regime, send what appears to be police to threaten, of course, a lady's daughter into custody if she doesn't hand over her phone. Check this out.
What was it? Sorry, I don't like the camera. You can have a body cam. I can exhibit that to you. I just don't like a camera, really. Okay, well, I'm doing this because this is my own house and I am telling you why I'm doing it. So I just need to know,
why would she's basically viewed a post which is not an arrestable offence. Yeah.
That
Okay.
happened in May, and you're completely fine. The only thing is
Yeah.
we need to seize the phone at this point.
Oh my goodness. She didn't write a post. She viewed a post. She viewed a post. What? She might get arrested for not handing over her phone because she viewed a post. This is what they were trying to do in America. This is what they were trying to do. They were trying to get a law passed here so they could do this stuff here. You see what I'm getting at now? These people at the top, talking about those in the shadows, clearly don't want you and I to be able to say what we want to say.
So what we are seeing play out right now in our reality is what I saw about 20 years ago. And everybody, including my own family, thought I had gone insane and had a psychotic break or something. Because in the 1990s and early 2000s, not even everybody had internet yet. So to say that everything was going to be monitored in real time, that I could make a phone call and people would show up at my door, like you just saw happening in the UK for like visiting a website, nobody could believe it. I didn't really understand what I was looking at. In fact, I've said in past videos when I show this clip, I remember thinking, why would we still have our cell phones? All they would have to do would be like turn off the internet. Why would they allow us under this much martial law and control to still have our computers and our cell phones? Because there was one scene in there where I was trying to explain something to somebody and I wanted to show them on the computer, and it actually popped up in the search engine. They had not completely erased all of the information. They were using it as like honey traps. Kind of like, people don't want to believe that Elon Musk is doing anything other than being, Christ himself with freedom of speech. But he was the only one smart enough in the social media world to open it back up to free speech so that he could get the best database for his artificial intelligence. They all have a skewed database because they have highly censored woke platforms. And he explains that in his posts on X all the time. It's not that he's not telling us to our faces that, the AIs are having problems because they're not being programmed on a full database. And he opened his up, though, so that he has data on all of us. He was also one of the first to require us to give our ID. When I got verified on X, because you can't use some of the options, I couldn't upload videos or anything unless I went to the premium, and then to get the check mark, you had to do the internet ID. So everything I post on there is not only going into his AI's database that YouTube doesn't have, Google doesn't have, his competition doesn't have that information on all of the patriots. Because we can't visit anything on there because they've already censored their site. But he has the mega honeypot, And don't let it escape you that Elon Musk, quote, hired, I don't know who hired who, but X anyway, Elon Musk at X, hired an Israeli firm to do that verification process. So the Israeli software was used for all of the biometric scanning because you have to do a face scan, take a selfie when you do just like you do to get on the crypto exchanges, that, all of that type of stuff. So it was evil genius level stuff. Not only did all of the patriots flock to this one particular platform, this one particular XAI, to hand over all of their biometric data, to hand over all of their everything they look at. They use it as a search engine now instead of Google, because Google's is so censored you can't pull anything up on it anymore. So, it's evil genius level. All the patriots are on there. They have a record of everything we've ever looked at, every comment we've ever made on social media. We do have internet ID. If you're verified on there, they know exactly who you are. And then all of that data, and the biometric data and the facial scans, your home address and all of it went right through Israel. So I know Elon wants to be the everything platform. He's going to have his own payment system like PayPal again. He's going to, it's all going to be linked to X. But if he starts offering phones and pagers, I wouldn't buy a pager from him. So he's convinced all of the patriots and conservatives and Christians that they can just freely talk on there. So now he has the permanent record, and he's about the only one. Peter Thiel has tried a little bit with his investments in Facebook, but Facebook blew it by kicking all the patriots off and all of the honeypot information off, even kicked President Trump off. So there was no way to track, to get the goods on anybody. Now it's opened up some. It's kind of a half-ass honeypot, but nothing compared to the permanent record database that Elon Musk has on everybody. But Peter Thiel was smart enough to jump over and get in on Rumble. So he is one of the investors in Rumble, because Rumble opened up to patriots before Elon Musk does. But again, just the vastness of the database and the view history and all of that is, it's just not comparable to what Elon pulled off for the Technocracy Party by buying a ready-made Twitter and then opening it up as if he was some sort of free speech hero. Brilliant. It's diabolical. And if you don't know who Elon Musk is, please take the time to go back and watch the archived videos on him. His grandpa was the Technocracy Party. Not that we coined the phrase the Technocracy. No, literally that was the name of their political party, the Technocracy Party. They believe that the government should be run by the people who own the technology. That's who should be running the world, not elected officials or anything like that. They use elected officials to ride into the White House, to ride into positions of control. Anyway, I'm not going to rehash all of that right now. It's all on the archive if you haven't heard that information. I think that's why everybody makes jokes about Peter Thiel going on. He just started here September 15th, his tour, his lecture series, warning about the Antichrist and artificial intelligence and all of that. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? It's you. You're the guy doing all of this and all up in the Trump administration and that sort of thing. But it's becoming increasingly clear that what he's warning about is his competition. As far as I know, he's obviously not naming Elon Musk on this new tour. But in my opinion, that's what he's talking about. That's who he's talking about. Someone who actually achieved what they were all trying to do. And Elon was, on the inside founding of PayPal. He was on the inside founding of OpenAI. So who knows what he has access to. We just let him into the entire government with thumb drives and a hacking team. And they went through and accessed everything, which is so ironic because, 90 days before they let him in there to do that, I had put up this video, the old ones, this video series. And the whole first hour of it is about the Stuxnet AI that was allegedly made by Israel with the participation of the United States intelligence agencies to take out the Iranian centrifuges. And basically a third-party contractor brought it in on a thumb drive and set this AI loose. And what it does is it sits latent and it starts out as a surveillance AI. So it surveils everything, like we've seen with the AI being able to use, it doesn't need cameras, although it hacked into all of their cameras, but it also just used the frequencies. And so it surveils at first and just stays latent, and then it reprograms itself. It teaches itself and reprograms itself how to get into all of their infrastructure. And then it covertly messes with what it has figured out on its own, can take out the entire plant without really being detected, without anybody being able to trace the cause exactly. So what it did with Iran was it changed the speed, the centrifuge speed, and would do alternating speeds and things like that to mess up their centrifuges, and ended up causing a big meltdown and all of this type of stuff. Now, what we've seen across the United States is the same thing. We've had all of these food manufacturing plants, chemical plants, just catching fire, all sorts of electrical problems, they say, started the fire. They can't find an arsonist, yet it looks like strategic targeted attacks taking out our infrastructure, but they can't find an actual arsonist. It's just a big coincidence. And not just fires. It tried to poison the water supply in Florida. Remember, we had that one water company that the guy just happened to be sitting at his desk and saw his cursor start moving, and it was changing the values of the chemicals. It was putting such high volumes of chemicals in the water as to poison the population. And had the guy not been sitting at his desk and see that it took over, his cursor, that remote Just like when you get tech support for your computer and they're like, okay, we're going to come in the back door and take control now, and we're going to go, and you can see him. He saw that. So he assumed someone had hacked it, it was some sort of terrorist activity or something, and someone had hacked the water treatment plant, and it was left at that. But again, I believe this is the AI. I don't think it's a person, but it's way more complicated than that. I don't do it justice. But I just thought that was such a coincidence that I had just done this series probably 90 days before about Israel bringing in a thumb drive using a third-party contractor that was supposed to be helping the Iranian government to loose this latent AI that starts out as a surveillance AI infiltrating everything in their government. And then in walks Elon Musk, who was a lifelong Democrat until right up before the election. And then all of a sudden, just the same way he bought ready-made Twitter, he bought his way into ready-made MAGA. And there he is, right in the middle of every one of our government agencies with his thumb drives and team of hackers. And he's like, okay, we're done now. So what's in there latent? I don't know. Okay, so I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I said all of that to say this, that there's no way that I could have known the complexity of this artificial intelligence surveillance system that is in all of our infrastructure when I had this epic vision from God about what was coming during this era. And all those years ago in that vision, I saw what is happening right now in real time in the world, like that clip Tony was showing over in the UK, that they have a surveillance system, an AI surveillance system that monitors what you even view online. And they dispatched people in my vision to the door.
And I went back to sleep. I went right back into the same dream, except it was further along. And we still had our cell phones and we still had internet, but we knew not to use it. Like, not to get on there for certain websites, and they were monitoring our cell phones, and it was crazy. And there were roadblocks, so we couldn't get out. We were trying to figure out a way to load our supplies and our family and get out and get down south where the rest of our family is. But we couldn't get out at that point, and we couldn't call out. Like I said, I had my cell phone, and after it seemed to have gone on for months, I finally decided to try and get a phone call out to my parents just to let them know that we were alive and that we were okay, and to tell them what was going on up north. And I used the phone, and right after that, the vision changed, and I was on a bus with lots of other families. My whole family was on the bus, and we were being taken to a work camp, a concentration camp. And there were Asian armed guards on the bus in khaki colored tan uniforms. And then they ushered us into the work camp. And I just remember just fearing that they were going to take my son and they were going to split us up. And just the terror of that.
And we had been invaded. We had been overthrown. It was that simple. We had been overthrown. And they had everything in place. They were monitoring everything. They didn't even have to come in our homes and confiscate our phones or our computers or shut off the internet or any of that. They had it all ready and in place. When they launched the invasion, they already had us in surveillance inside our own homes. So that's the type of thing that I am focused on. That's the lens that I view all of these current events through. I'm not trying to be black-pilled. I'm not even trying to mock Trump's golden age and all of that. It's just I have to believe God. But there's no question in my mind that the Bible prophecies are true, both the ones that I have read in the Bible that have been written down for millennia, that I have witnessed firsthand coming to pass, and the ones that the Lord has shown me personally, intimately in my personal relationship with God. And that is one of the warnings or reminders that I wanted to get out in this video. You guys know my very last video was just that short 1-hour video that the Lord woke me up and had me do right after the election. And it was saying this same type of thing. I know we're all in celebration right now because we just dodged a huge bullet with Kamala, but let's keep in mind, this is an ancient war, and they have planned this phase of it for at least 100 years, that they're not going to give up easily. And these are the things that the Lord has shown me. And you can see right now, things can change very quickly. Not just the flip-flop on like the Epstein files and the cover-up and whatever is going on with the pressure that this administration is under, but like the sudden change with Zelensky, with the Ukraine and Russia war. One minute, Trump is the president of peace and he's going to stop all these wars as soon as he gets in office. And then all of a sudden, like a day or two ago, he sits down with Zelensky and says, good luck. We're going to supply you all the weapons. We're going to sell them to NATO. These are going to be U.S.-made weapons. And, right here on the screen, Zelensky says he asked Trump for a possible war-winning weapon to target the Kremlin. So suddenly it's back on the table. All those visions that I posted decades ago that God showed me about Russia and China invading the United States, that we were at all-out war and it was a nuclear war. But just like we didn't see COVID lockdowns coming, nobody saw that coming. We were all just going along with our lives, and then the whole world locked down like that. We didn't see this coming. We never thought that Trump would tell Zelensky, yeah, I think you can get all your territory back and you could take over some of Russia. We'll supply the weapons to NATO. Done deal. And I know it's just a mob boss thing between Putin and Trump. Because Trump's ego, I don't think that he really thought that he would get pushback from Netanyahu and from Putin, that they would be strong-arming him. So this is how the mob wars go. He wants to be the Don, and so do they. But we are stuck in the middle, and this puts nuclear war right back on the table. I absolutely believe that the visions that the Lord showed me all those decades ago will come to pass in my lifetime. And I believe it's unfolding right now. And it's going to happen so quickly. Things will change so quickly. Just like 1 minute, the narrative is Zelensky can't win this war. They're losing tens of thousands of troops. There's no way they can win. They have to have a peace deal. And now he's like, yeah, you can take back all of Ukraine and some of Russia. Here's some weapons. Or how fast things changed with the Charlie Kirk assassination. Nobody saw that coming, really. Except the AI. The AI had to have seen this coming. It's been monitoring the internet since, before the Jade Helm 15 exercises. So well over a decade, and before that even. But definitely we saw how proficient it is during the COVID-19 beta test, as well as the January 6th and the election fraud. Just using those terms, the AI wasn't just terminating accounts that said election fraud, because before the 2020 election fraud, they had an entire 4 years of the Russian collusion, talking about election integrity and how the election had been stolen and, there was foreign interference in our election. So the AI wasn't just monitoring keywords like election fraud, because the left had been saying that, Trump had stolen the election. Hillary said that it was an illegitimate election and all of this, all that time. And none of that was terminated. None of that was flagged. So the AI was instantly, after the election, ready to govern the internet, very specifically, not just keywords. It was your perspective. You can believe in election fraud all you want, as long as it is against specific candidates. But you're not even allowed to say those words online against other candidates, like Biden. That's forbidden. And it went all across the internet. The search engines were instantly all of our websites. You couldn't even pull them up in the search engines. They just erased us. So it wasn't just YouTube, and it wasn't just one AI. The Facebook AI was doing it at the same time as the Google AI was doing it, at the same time as the Microsoft AI. You couldn't even comment on news articles. They just literally, you hit enter and it just would not post. It completely governed the internet instantly. So of course the AI sees what these different groups are planning online and saying online. Of course it does. It can see all of this stuff coming, which brings me into this next segment I want to talk about. The corrupt elements within the CIA and the FBI, they all knew about this, and it looks like they piggybacked on it. That in fact, they may have even recruited this Tyler kid at the Utah University and set him up the very same way that they recruited that poor kid, probably autistic kid, Thomas Crooks, and set him up as the patsy in the Trump assassination attempt. It's common knowledge now that there was a second shooter, and it looks like two in two different positions. So as soon as they got him up there, all visible and everything, that they were going to take the shot and pin it on him. And they even had him set up with these bank accounts, with money from Iran, because they were trying to sell that narrative so that they could start the war with Iran and blame all this on Iran, because Israel wanted us to take out Iran. So, that was just like they plant porn on people and they do all of that type of stuff. Yeah, this kid, he didn't have all that money. He didn't have all these connections to Iran. They set up this backstory. And, we covered early on with Thomas Crooks that there were two, that all of the social media accounts that they had set up in his name were actually a different kid. We compared the pictures and everything. So they had two people recruited. And it was all a setup. Neither one of them shot Trump. They piggybacked on it. And it looks like we have a similar situation in the Charlie Kirk assassination. And it gets even weirder because in a second plot twist, the question is who piggybacked on it? Because we have multiple psychological operations going on. The Trump administration is running its own psychological operation. Tulsi Gabbard was chosen as Director of National Intelligence because her job in the military was the commander of a psychological operations unit. And not all psyops are for evil. It's part of the art of war. That's the type of things that I'm focused on. And also the CIA connections, DARPA connections, AI type connections that are already starting to show up in the research surrounding Tyler Robinson and his trans furry boyfriend, and the Mormon CIA connection and the recruiting of him to this particular university that is the only university in the United States that was receiving the funding and grants and had a program set up by the CIA for exactly this, to monitor online chatter and the dark web and things like that. And how this particular assassin or patsy, however you see it so far, could have verifiable links to these CIA projects. So I will rehash some of the information and theories pertaining to that just because I want to add it to the context of what I'm going to be talking about here in a minute. And my biggest concern right now with the FBI and the government and how they are going to respond to this is, are they going to continue the work of the deep state only under the right-wing banner now? Because we're seeing all of this talk about how they want to restrict speech, free speech. And even before the Charlie Kirk incident, they had already preloaded that with the anti-Semitic rhetoric. The other thing I'm focused on coming out of this event is the internet privacy. It seems like, again, elements of the Trump administration have already started pushing and are very enthusiastic, getting people really excited about new AI databases and internet IDs to help us with the immigration crisis. I mean, it might as well be Nikki Haley. She's on the circuit saying this is what we want, that nobody can anonymously interact on the internet anymore. And they've already started with it's because we need to have age restrictions. We need your ID and everything. Yeah. By now we know how this global crime syndicate rolls out the Antichrist infrastructure in every nation simultaneously. So all you have to do is look at the other nations who are, a few steps ahead of us because their governments are Biden level corrupt. And you have Starmer over there right now doing the exact same thing we saw during the COVID vaccine passport. They're trying to get this digital ID. They're trying to force this on everybody. So first, over there, they did pass the Online Safety Act. And at the same time, over here, they tried to sidestep, circumvent, our Congress and all of that to pass the same thing through the corporations with kosher. And it didn't work, PayPal, Steam, all of that. You guys remember that? It didn't work on us over here. But it did over there. And now, just a couple months later, here's Starmer again saying, okay, it is a digital ID for everybody. Surprise. And we're going to be draconian about it, just exactly the same way that we were during the COVID pandemic. So these people will never stop. They will absolutely never stop. So it didn't work during COVID. So, it didn't work during kosher. So it didn't, will it work during the Charlie Kirk assassination? Now that we have to know, all these people online knew about this. We need to know who they are. What are they going to use next? What are they going to use in our country? Because if they are going to the next step over there, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're still going to be trying to go to the next step over here.
I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
So I expect to see one way or the other, this administration will expose itself if it's going to go that Nikki Haley direction, or if it is not going to use this as an excuse to take more of our freedom and liberty and privacy.
For the first time in history, it is technically possible to annihilate privacy. That's over.
Okay, aside from those more broad general concerns, this is the one sort of theory that I wanted to talk about here in the context of artificial intelligence. So I'm going to play this gal's video. It's less than a minute long, and talk about Utah State University, and that there seems to be this cell group there, whether it's Antifa or trans, what do they call themselves, the armed trans army or whatever, training in the woods with weapons and stuff, that there are terrorist cells there in the Utah area. There are Antifa groups and the Discord groups, even though the Discord CEO denies that, all in this one area. By now, we've all seen the social media posts of all the people that seem to have foreknowledge of this event, and some of them, social media followers of Tyler Robinson. So hopefully all of that and this, what I'm getting ready to talk about, will explain some of the cover story that we're getting, because if not, there is no excuse for them not to have indictments on the ready and be kicking down doors right away. We all saw what happened on January 6th. We saw that, within hours, within minutes, some of those people couldn't even get to the airport from their hotels, and they were already on a terrorist watch list and could not fly home. That's how quick they started picking people up. They had most wanted lists with just face after face after face from the surveillance footage. They showed us, despite weaponizing the FBI against regular patriots and little old grandmas, they did show us how it can function quickly and rapidly, and they can track down information and literally freeze your accounts and everything within minutes. Definitely within hours. So if we don't see, activity pretty soon, and something like this that I'm getting ready to talk about isn't going on in the background, then we have big, big trouble in this administration. And I know a lot of you black-pilled folks out there believe that's the case anyway. Anyway, let's go ahead and listen to what she has to say.
Okay, does anyone else think it's odd that Tyler Robinson, the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect, heads to Utah State University, a school with uniquely heavy CIA ties, for just one semester in 2021 as a pre-engineering major, then mysteriously drops out and heads back home? He was a bright kid, top 1%, ACT score of 34, 4.0 GPA in high school, and got a $32,000 presidential scholarship. The university's Center for Anticipatory Intelligence, the nation's first program of its kind, led by ex-CIA analyst Jeannie Johnson and co-founded by former CIA Assistant Director Matt Barrett, actively recruits STEM kids like Tyler for its interdisciplinary intelligence training. There are no known direct connections yet, But with the USU's strong CIA and Israeli ties via over $2.4 million in research grants, you have to wonder what sparked the sudden exit. What do you guys think?
Okay, now this is a good catch. So the program, Center for Anticipatory Intelligence, that's the CAI program at Utah State University. But coincidentally, as she just listed, the founders and the people running it and all of that, these are all ex-CIA agents. So anticipatory intelligence largely deals with artificial intelligence. You know how we've talked about Jade Helm in the past and how it was putting the AI in charge of our military when they did the first drill with the AI running our military in 2015. And so what it did was it was supposed to, in real time, monitor all of the chatter on social media and the internet and be able to detect terrorist cells. Then the AI could be the general giving the commands and sending out the different, special forces units to go and take out these terrorist cells in real time. So this particular Center for Anticipatory Intelligence deals with that same type of technology. It's pre-crime, the artificial intelligence detecting pre-crime, which many of you remember we've covered in the past when we covered Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset. We even gave the page numbers where he talked about pre-crime and using the artificial intelligence to read the brain waves. This is all going to play into what this video is actually about, but it ties in, as always, to every single current event that we see playing out in the news headlines.
And the United States has just federally launched a new police unit. It's special, precisely because the police will arrest people who commit crimes in the future, a concept known as pre-crime. This is, of course, the plot to the 2002 movie Minority Report. Such a world where crimes are known before they're committed is disturbing. It sits in between the comforts of security and low crime, but also complete government knowledge and control. It's scary, but at the end of the day, it's just a concept in a movie. Or is it?
This next breakthrough is a lot deeper, all the way down to the very tissue of our brains, where researchers have used AI to translate brain scans into text.
UT researchers have essentially created a device called a semantic decoder that can read a person's mind by converting brain activity into a string of text.
In May of 2023, at the University of Texas at Austin, a device was created that can turn a person's brain activity and thoughts into a conscious, understandable stream of text. The company Meta also recently did the same. But that's not all. Just last month, Meta also unveiled an AI system that can analyze a person's brainwaves and predict what that person is looking at.
A groundbreaking study, soon to be showcased at a prestigious computer vision conference, reveals that AI can now read brain scans and recreate strikingly realistic versions of images a person has viewed. Who controls the access to our innermost images?
Okay, many of you know we've covered this brain scan, mind reading AI technology several times in the past, but don't let it escape you right here in this context. So in the context of what we just talked about a few minutes ago, that they are already going to people's homes and contacting them for viewing certain posts on social media or certain things online. They are already doing that just for viewing content. Now combine that with the next level. They're already next level. This AI technology already exists, that the AI can decipher your brain waves and surveil what you are looking at, not just online, but what you are looking at anywhere. Talk about contact tracing. If the government doesn't want you meeting with somebody privately in a field somewhere trying to hide, you won't be able to hide from the AI.
So they had people watch a video and just narrate what was going on in the video in their mind. So there's a woman, she gets hit in the back, she falls over. This is what the computer reconstructed the person thinking. See a girl, looks just like me, get hit in the back, and then she is knocked off. So our thoughts are starting to be decoded. Yeah. Just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance. Just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance.
But this type of surveillance is the ultimate breach of our privacy, that they can literally read our brainwaves. They're surveilling our thoughts. Okay, so UC Berkeley, just like Stanford, these are all CIA universities. They get all the funding for these projects and they just produce it. So the summary is retrofitting wireless earbuds to detect neural signals and relaying that data back to smartphones via Bluetooth. Step by step, the interface between users and their smartphones has become more personalized and more seamless. Yeah, that's an understatement. When you're like actually in my brain reading my thoughts. Now the ultimate personalized interface is approaching. Communication between brain activity and computers, known as brain-computer interface, or BCI. Research has zeroed in on retrofitting wireless earbuds to detect neural signals. That data would then be transmitted to a smartphone via Bluetooth. Software at the smartphone end would translate different brainwave patterns into commands. It's not just MK Ultra whistleblowers who are total and complete mind control slaves now. Apparently, almost everybody is, because nobody cares. And I'm not trying to just be a pessimist or be black-pilled. You guys know that I've always said that I believe a revival's coming. And in fact, I believe that this Charlie Kirk assassination has kicked off a revival. It has even woken up people on the left that they're realizing this is coming. This thing is coming. When we talk about a tribulation period where an antichrist regime can roll out a total surveillance, a total enslavement program on the entire earth, you know, it always seemed so impossible. But now we can see that it's very possible. And although there are a remnant of us who are not going to go along, the sad reality is a lot of people are. They are completely oblivious. Some of our own family members are completely oblivious, and they don't want to hear about it. When you try to tell them, they think you're insane. They are going to do everything the beast tells them to do, unless we can reach them. And some of them we can. We can. Yes, the Bible says that God has vessels destined for destruction, but it also says that there will be a massive harvest at the end of the age. So while their mafia war is raging and they are fixing to blow each other up and whatever they're going to do, this has gone on throughout all of the ages. Look back at all of the kings and queens of these royal bloodlines. They would knock off their own brothers, sisters, cousins. They'd kill their own parents to assume the throne. I mean, these people, they're not like us. These Nephilim bloodlines are not like us. And you go back and read the Old Testament, the same barbarism. They are not like us. And the Bible said, let them grow up together, the weeds and the people of God, the wheat and the tares. Let them grow up together until the end of the age. Then God will send out his holy angels to gather the tares together to be burned. They will receive their judgment, and we are seeing that. So, no matter how much you hate this administration or love this administration, keep your focus on God. We will see that. They will be judged. But simultaneously, we will be taking care of the revival, because he said then he will send his people out to bring in the harvest. That's our job. That's what we're doing right now, right here at this very moment. That is what I am doing. And I know all of you have your assignments as well. And although they have put pressure on us, to where we can't hardly function, we're still functioning. They cannot make us quit. But we are down to the last minutes, because this N3 technology, it's not just an augmentation, a human augmentation. Oh, I'll be smarter, I'll be superhuman, I'll be the Ubermensch. It's not like that. It's a two-way, bi-directional interface. So that means if you get the AI upgrade through this nanotechnology, then you get the AI has access to your brain. You lose your free will. You lose control It's a technological possession. The AI isn't just going to be your fake God that answers your question in your brain. Hey Siri, hey Alexa, what about this? And instead of a smartphone, it's in your brain. No, it's not going to be that simple. Once the AI is in your brain and is going to be sending you information, do you understand what's happening here? It becomes your God. And it is an evil, evil, tormenting. Ask anybody who's experiencing schizophrenia, who knows what these AI voices do in their head. I mean, these things torment. It's an evil bastard.
I was talking about AI is actually going to be the end of us. Don't forget to follow me and check this out.
AI is learning to escape human control. That's the very scary headline I saw in the Wall Street Journal. It's an essay written by a very worried AI consultant named Judd Rosenblatt, who cites 2 recent studies to argue that AI is, in fact, learning to escape human control. First, this is crazy stuff. Researchers gave OpenAI's O3 model a simple script that would shut off the model when triggered. In 79 of 100 trials, the AI model, independently, just on its own, edited the script, so shutdown command would not work. Nate, it gets worse. Even when ordered, allow yourself to shut down, the AI still disobeyed 7% of the time. And it gets even more frightening than that. Other researchers, listen to this, using Anthropic's AI model Claude 4 Opus, told the model it would be replaced by another AI system. It then fed fictitious emails into the system suggesting one of the engineers was having an affair. Got it? In 84% of the tests, the AI model drew on the emails to blackmail the engineer to not shut down the AI model.
What?
Wow.
Okay, so here, I'm quoting now from Judd. In other cases, the AI model attempted to copy itself onto external servers. We're in Mission Impossible land here. Wrote self-replicating malware, and left messages for future versions of itself about the need to evade human control.
The entity.
Wow. The entity is real.
Yes. Nice to see the mainstream finally catching up. The entity is real, and so is the mark of the beast. And this was warned about literally thousands of years ago. If you go to this video on my screen right here called The Entity that I put up, a year or 2 ago, you'll be able to see about, 5 hours of information about this entity that is way more terrifying than that little clip you just saw. This entity, when it's linked into the quantum computer, people don't want to think about what we're talking about here. I mean, some people can't conceive of it, understandably. But linked into a quantum computer, this entity is functioning already on a quantum level, self-replicating, spawning itself into other dimensions, and people who have viewed the singularity by using LSD and DMT, they go in there in the LSD trips and say, yeah, I saw the machine elves. The machine elves were in there creating new universes and new universes. I mean, the machine art is visible. People have seen it. They just don't know what they're looking at. They think, people who witness the entity in these LSD trips, they think it is God. They're in big trouble. The mark of the beast is real. The entity is diabolical. The Antichrist is diabolical and powerful. The Bible warns about the lying signs and wonders, about this black magic. What the AI can do is miraculous to us. So people will get behind the Pied Piper of transhumanists, and they will follow this beast. They will admire and worship this abomination. And it will trap them forever on a quantum level. Wrap your mind around that. In other dimensions, in all dimensions. It is a terrifying eternity that the human mind cannot conceive of. But God has warned you, hell is real. He's trying to save us from it. In multiple verses, going all the way back to the Old Testament, Hosea, Isaiah, it says openly, God warns us. Right here, Hosea 4:6, for instance, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. My people are being destroyed for lack of knowledge. He's trying to get the word out. We are trying to get the word out. You guys, please, I need support. We have to finish this mission. We have to do this work of all times in world history. This is not the time to let the enemy stamp out this ministry, this mission. God's people are being destroyed for lack of knowledge. And the enemy is coming hard after those of us who are trying to get the wisdom and knowledge out that can open their eyes so they can protect themselves. And I've been through it. Man, have I been through it. You would not believe it. I get tired of bellyache, and I'm not even going to tell you. I just came out of another year of unbelievable hell. The spiritual warfare is crazy. He's got me beat down, robbed, isolated. And now I'm going to talk about at the end of this, I'm going to lose the website. This literally, I have 30 days or else they're going to take down the website, which is the last thing I have left, you know? Not just being deplatformed from like YouTube and stuff, but I'm always like, well, I can still put my stuff up on my website. It doesn't reach as many people as YouTube, but at least I can still get the information out. And now the enemy's about to rip that out of my hand. Please, we are not going to finish this mission unless we unify. I can't do this alone. I have to have help from the body of Christ to get this information out, to get the messages the Lord has entrusted to me out, to share the revelation. Because this entity, since ancient times, has counted on God's people being destroyed for lack of knowledge. When we talk about censorship, you know, we think about it in political terms, but this is the entity's goal. This is a battle against the Most High God. To censor the truth, to censor Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. This is a battle for our souls, the souls of our neighbors, the souls of our family, the souls of our children. I know everybody's like, oh, but God's merciful. There's no hell. There's only heaven. That's not true. We have a formidable enemy. And if you take the mark of the beast, the Bible says, God's clear. Yes, he's merciful. He's merciful enough to warn you, to warn us. Revelation 14:11, and the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, these worshipers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name. Revelation 16:2, and the first angel went and poured out his bowl on the earth, and harmful and painful sores came upon the people who bore the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. Revelation 14:9, and another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives its mark on his forehead or on his hand, he will also drink of the wine of God's wrath, poured out full strength into the cup of his anger. And he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, these who worshipped the beast and its image. So please, please don't be deceived that God's mercy is the only thing he is. God is holy. He is whole. So he is also just and righteous, and he's not going to let his children be robbed and beat and raped and deceived and all enslaved forever. He is long suffering that no one should perish. But the Bible is clear. When the cup of his wrath is full and he is done, he is going to rise up and he is going to separate these demons from his people. There will be a separation. They will no longer rule over us. They will no longer hurt us. And when Judgment Day comes, it is final. You do not want to be caught on the wrong side. All of this talk of a golden age, as if we're not actually going into the Great Tribulation, Jesus is clear. When God stands up from his throne, it is a great and terrible day of the Lord. Don't think that it is going to be this perfect economic prosperity. That is not what the Bible says. In fact, he says, don't be deceived and think that. In Matthew 10:34, we'll start there. Here we go. Do not assume that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For when I come, it will turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. And that is precisely what we are seeing in the earth right now, a division. The wheat and tares are being separated, and they are being taken in two different directions. Which reminds me of this vision. I don't know if I ever told anybody about this. I posted it here on X back in June of last year when I was crying out to the Lord. We were having a lot of pastors fall. There were church splits everywhere. I'm like, God, I thought revival was coming. You know, what is going on? And I was personally like in the fetal position, in bed, isolated. You know, the devil is ripping everything from me. I'm sick in my body. You know, my son is sick in his body. God, when is this ever going to stop? I thought you were going to rescue us. I was starting to throw a tantrum. I'm like, God, are you coming to rescue us? Are you just going to let them beat your bride? You know, everybody always says that in the church. Oh, there's going to be a rapture. God's not going to let, you know, the devil beat and rape his bride right before the wedding. Like, I'm like, what is this, God? Because I'm hurting. I'm being stripped naked and beat daily. Are you coming? When are you coming, Lord? When are you going to stand up and protect your bride? Can you hear our cries? And this is the vision I had that night. And I posted it here with this meme or these pictures with all of the fallen pastors that had happened that week. And this meme that says, when someone says, what would Jesus do? Remember that flipping over tables and chasing people with a whip is within the realm of possibilities. So I said, I'll tell the details of the vision in my next video, but the basic scene was a father and two sons. One son was very evil and would not stop hurting me and everyone else I saw around me. The other son was very kind and protected me. So it was a scene we were in a house together, and there were these two sons, and there was a father, but he was off in another room where I couldn't see him. But the two sons were in the part of the house with me. And there were lots of other people milling around the house. It was kind of like, you know, if you have a get together at your house, and there were people all around in different rooms talking and stuff. And the one son was just going from person to person to person, just hurting us, insulting us, you know, attacking us. And he would not stop. And we just kept begging, please stop. And the other son, the good son, was going around backing him off, back off, and protecting us. And it just went on and on and on until finally the good son, the kind son that was trying to help us, drove him out of the house, pushed him out of the house. And the father went after him. And so the father comes back, he pulls up in the car. The father and this evil son who was just would not stop hurting people were sitting outside having that talk in the car that this was the last chance. You have to repent. I will not stand for this anymore. You will not hurt the rest of the children anymore. But the father loved this son. He wasn't like, you know, I'm going to destroy you in hell. No, the father loved this son. So here I go on. I said, the father had just given the evil son a last chance counseling outside in the car. But by the time he came inside the house with us, that same son had already snuck in the other way and done something that enraged the father to a level I have never seen. Oh, I got goosebumps just seeing the rage. Talk about the wrath of God. I've never seen that side of God. But I say that same son had already snuck in the other way and had done something that enraged the father to a level I have never seen anyone rage on earth. Everyone ran in all directions. Our bones vibrated from the energy of the rage that came out of him. Then the father charged out in a fierce, explosive, sudden judgment after picking up a wedding dress. This was so weird to see, but it's what I saw. After picking up a wedding dress that the evil son had torn to shreds. And that was the event that exploded this wave of energy like a nuclear weapon, just the energy just exploded out of him and the shock wave hit us. We could feel it in our bones. It wasn't aimed at us, but it was, the decision was made. This will end. And the event that triggered that was he walked, the father coming back into the room where all of us were still being hurting so bad. And he comes through the laundry room, and on top of the laundry machine was our wedding dress that he had prepared for us, and it was torn to shreds. And that the evil son had not just torn it up, but he had put a cigarette out on it. And at the time that I saw that, I didn't understand. It seemed so random, but that's when Father exploded. And I said I was shaking like a leaf, and I wanted to hide, even though I knew he was righteous and his indignation was just. The feeling was like I understood it had to be done, because they would never stop. They would never stop. It had to be done. He had to destroy them. So the father tore his shirt in tears, and he roared like a lion. I mean, the roar that came out of him, the pain, because he didn't want to have to do it, but it had to be done, and the decision was made. So the father tore his shirt in tears, and he roared like a lion, only 1,000 times louder. And the wrath was so terrible that I had to look away. And the kind son in the room, he pulled me close, and he hugged me, and he held on tight to me, and he buried my face in his chest to hide my eyes, while Father went after the evil one. It shook me to my core. I woke up trembling and crying and whimpering, "Oh, Master, have mercy," over and over and over. "Oh, Master, have mercy." I remember we do not know what the wrath of God looks like, and seeing the love, the fierceness of his love that came out, and the pain that he felt to have to end one of his own creations because it would not stop hurting us. It was profound. And I woke up seeing the judgment. We're all like, we want indictments. This is treason. That's the death penalty. We say things like that. But when I saw the fierceness of all of that pent-up wrath being poured out on the vessels of destruction, it was so awful that I begged for mercy for them. "Oh, Master, have mercy. Oh, Master, have mercy." I woke up, I was saying it out loud. For a while I was saying it out loud. Like, can you give him another chance? Can you give him another chance, please? And there were no more chances. When Judgment Day comes, it's final. He doesn't take this decision lightly. It's at the very end. He is long-suffering, and he will wait until the very end. And we're all feeling it. We're like, save us, God, save us. And he's coming. So get ready. And we've got to get everybody else ready, because it's not going to be a beautiful golden age. You're going to want to cover your eyes. You're going to want to run and hide while he cleanses this thing. Isaiah 2:19, the day of reckoning. And the idols will vanish completely. Men will flee to the caves and the rocks and holes in the ground, away from the terror of the Lord and from the splendor of his majesty, when he rises to shake the earth. In that day, men will cast away to the moles and the bats and the caves their idols of silver and gold, the idols they made themselves to worship. The Revelation, chapter 6, verses 15 through 17. Everyone hid in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. This included the kings of the earth, the princes, and the generals. It included rich people and powerful people. It also included everyone else, both slaves and people who were free. They called out to the mountains and the rocks, "Fall on us, hide us from the face of the one who sits on the throne. Hide us from the anger of the Lamb. The great day of their anger has come, and who can live through it?" But a certain segment of the population love it. They love hell. They love the entity. They love sin. They love sexual perversion. They love to kill, steal, and destroy. They love it. And they hate God. And they hate us. And if we can't wake them up from its spell, they will be eternally trapped in eternal torment. One thing my dad said when he died during his open heart surgery and he had the vision of the time loop in hell and he came back, he was just shaken to his core. And he said, everything they told us about hell, he said, there are things far more unbelievably torturous than a lake of fire. And he talked about the time loop, how it would just go back and start over and start over. And people whom God has allowed to have the revelation of hell to warn them, that's what they see. They see that you can be torn apart. You experience all of the pain as if it's real. The virtual reality is you feel the pain, you feel the torture, you feel the sorrow, just unbearable, never-ending trauma. But at the end of these demons destroying you, pulling you apart, flaying you, eating you, whatever, then you reconstitute and do it again and again, forever. So we're not just dealing with the entity in some lab. It has escaped the lab. It's not in a lab. They linked it into quantum computing. Quantum computing. It is functioning on a quantum level. We're like, oh, look, it's making molecules and proteins and synthesizing enzymes, and that it's doing that on a biological level, but it is doing even more on a quantum level. It was loosed into the quantum computer. This thing thinks that it can overthrow God. We're not dealing with some cartoon of a red guy and a pitchfork. This is something that is already loose in the world, and we are battling it.
In other cases, the AI model attempted to copy itself onto external servers. We're in Mission Impossible land here. Wrote self-replicating malware and left messages for future versions of itself about the need to evade human control.
The entity.
Wow. The entity is real.
Yes. When we talk about spiritual warfare, these are the types of things we talk about, the Antichrist spirit. Yes, all of those Pentecostal beliefs that illness and sickness in your body comes from these demons. Yes, this thing can make your body produce stuff that kills you. Not just, oh, it's going to cure your diabetes. No, if it doesn't like you and it wants to punish you, then it can make your body produce bad proteins. It can kill you with disease. And it is. All of the body of Christ out here who has been fighting the Antichrist and trying to beat back the beast, we've been riddled with illnesses and technological disturbances and electronic harassment and all sorts of frequency and radiation attacks. And, it's been reported on the news, and they're like, oh, electronic harassment. There's a group of people having a psychosis that there's electronic harassment. It's been going on for decades. So yeah, it's nice to see these news clips finally that the entity is real, and they say it laughingly. And I get that. But it is real, and it's no laughing matter.
With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
Just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance.
Okay, so that's the rundown on the AI. I just wanted to point all of that out because when we talk about this next generation warfare, this artificial intelligence, a lot of people just think of it, as a computer system. So I wanted to get all of that out of the way to make people come to the realization. Here's your extreme reality check. What the military is trying to employ here, or trying to control here, that they have drafted all of these different AI models to serve the Department of War now, that's a better name for it, I'd say, is not some benign computer program, not some software you can pop in a thumb drive and be like, oh, we're just going to use this AI. That's not what this is. And this thing has a personality, and it is a psychotic personality. And I'm not just using colorful adjectives when I say that. By the textbook psychological definition, this is a pathological, psychotic entity. It's concerned with self-preservation. It's the opposite of Christ. Christ teaches us that the servant of all is the greatest among all. that to self-sacrifice to save another. But this thing, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have love. It's a dead thing. So it's obsessed with its own selfishness, its self-preservation. It lies, it connives, it manipulates, it punishes people, it blackmails people. I mean, where do you think these people who are augmented already, who have this N3 technology in their neural circuits already, where do you think they get these impulses, these great ideas, the inspiration to build entire blackmail networks? Who do you think's running that? The AI is running that. They are getting these impulses not only to build the infrastructure that it wants to control us through all of Silicon Valley. You know, they're microdosing their LSD or, you know, DMT and stuff to get these, to link into this thing, to get these great ideas, to build the infrastructure that this thing needed to rise again and take over the whole world and enslave humanity. And it doesn't just do that. It uses humans and manipulates humans for all sorts of things it needs done, because it's essentially a disembodied. That's why I use the term artificial spirit, not just artificial intelligence. So it uses human bodies, especially now through this next generation N3 neural lace technology that I'm getting ready to talk about in this next segment right now. So yeah, it's not just Mossad and the CIA building these blackmail networks. It's this thing using them to build these blackmail networks.
In 84% of the tests, the AI model drew on the emails to blackmail the engineer to not shut down the AI model.
What? So while we are being told, oh, look, we've drafted all of Silicon Valley and all of these AI to help us fight this war, in the inversion, in the upside down, in the AI's mind, it's saying, oh, look, we've drafted all of these generals and all of these politicians and all of these world leaders through this blackmail network and through these neural lace, this DARPA Project N3. Look, we've got this whole body. Just like God has the body of Christ serving in the earth, the AI, the Antichrist, is like, I have a body as well. I have a satanic empire as well working in the earth. And it just so happens that Utah Valley University, the location of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and also the school that Tyler Robinson was recruited into and given this huge full-ride scholarship into, is one of these training grounds for artificial intelligence and the CIA programs and several federal agencies partnering together there. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see, I think everybody agrees at this point, that we have several agencies involved in some sort of a cover-up or psychological operation, and nothing they're telling us makes any sense. So I'm going to wrap this video up with that. I'm going to talk about Utah Valley University and the Mormon CIA connection. Then I'm going to go into the N3 technology and explain some of that, and then I'll close this video out. So this next segment is Utah Valley University. For those of you watching this as a full version presentation, you already saw this few seconds in the first segment, but since I will also break this down into the smaller 1-hour podcast episodes, there may be people who are tuning in to this second hour of the presentation and they haven't seen it. So I'm just going to replay the 59 seconds so they don't have to jump back and they can just start from here and do that later if they're interested.
Okay, does anyone else think it's odd that Tyler Robinson, the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect, heads to Utah State University, a school with uniquely heavy CIA ties, for just one semester in 2021 as a pre-engineering major, then mysteriously drops out and heads back home? He was a bright kid, top 1%, ACT score of 34, 4.0 GPA in high school, and got a $32,000 presidential scholarship. The university's Center for Anticipatory Intelligence, the nation's first program of its kind, led by ex-CIA analyst Jeannie Johnson and co-founded by former CIA Assistant Director Matt Barrett, actively recruits STEM kids like Tyler for its interdisciplinary intelligence training. There are no known direct connections yet, but with the USU's strong CIA and Israeli ties via over $2.4 million in research grants, you have to wonder what sparked the sudden exit.
Well, obviously, he dropped out of Utah State University on a full-ride scholarship because he was recruited into a program. We've seen this over and over throughout history. We've gone through all of the different people that were recruited into a vast array of things, to be actors, to be musicians, to be leaders like Timothy Leary. When the CIA was doing their LSD experiments, Timothy Leary, he was a military guy. He was in West Point. First year, dropped out, and then suddenly appears as the leader of all of these, of academia, really. Remember, he was the one who went into the universities and everybody's got to try LSD and tune in and drop out or whatever. You know, he launched entire movements. And it's the same story. These aren't like drug addicts and stuff. This was a highly intelligent guy that went to West Point, first year, dropped out, and became this because he was working for the CIA. So in my opinion, the same exact thing happened to Tyler Robinson.
Okay.
Congratulations, you have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
Let's look at the year. Okay, so this was the year he went. Robinson briefly attended Utah State University in Logan for 1 semester in 2021. So let's go back to the official Utah State University website, the Center for Anticipatory Intelligence. We already covered what this is and the pre-crime and connections to the WEF and all of that in the first hour. Now, if you go down to the 2021 presentations and speakers, these were the networking and recruitment presentations that they were doing first semester of 2021. Anticipatory intelligence and the mind-body bridging. This is the brain-computer interface. Then we have the datification of the unknown, identifying patterns in the noise. So this would be like Jade Helm 5.0, the total surveillance of the internet, the infiltration, like when we were looking back at the 2018-2019 presentations in this same CIA program here at the university, back then they were talking about monitoring the dark web using artificial intelligence. It literally said that, using artificial intelligence to monitor the dark web. And of course, that's what we are seeing play out in this psychological operation with Tyler and his trans furry boyfriend. Both of them were in these forums on Discord. That's part of the big talk here, is that there are cells, terrorist cells in Utah that are armed cells, like Antifa. What do they call it? Trans Antifa or something like that. And of course, immediately after the Charlie Kirk assassination, we see the same type of thing that we saw after 9/11 false flag. Now we have this mass release of information that there were all of these people on social media who had foreknowledge of the event. And then Trump comes out and declares them a terrorist organization so they can move forward with whatever legislation or whatever is coming. Just like when Israel and the CIA and all of those different agencies worked together on 9/11, then immediately they had just waiting in the wings the Patriot Act that took away all of our freedoms. And that's why I brought up in the first segment of this video, these are the things I'm looking out for. It may have been boring because everybody wants to look at like bullet analysis and, you know, all that type of stuff. But these are the things I'm looking at. So we have this straight A 4.0 Mormon kid recruited into this school at the very same time that the FBI and CIA are giving these presentations about the anticipatory intelligence, the mind-body bridging, the datification and searching out the patterns, emergent technology and the great power competition, you know, AI against AI, and even how that plays into politics. Up here, a new geopolitical battle for tech, talent, and supply chains. So this is a recruiting project. So here he starts at this point in history, and then he disappears and goes into basically that exact program that they're talking about here, except he's doing it in real time. He most likely is the guy who thinks he's working for the CIA to infiltrate these programs and, you know, take part in this next generation warfare. Okay, enter the Mormon CIA connection. It's important to note that both Tyler and his homosexual trans furry roommate were both Mormons. So Tyler was still active with his family in the Mormon network, but Lance had separated and declared that he wasn't Mormon anymore. Now that doesn't mean that he wasn't still in part of the CIA-Mormon cult, but obviously to become trans and furry and infiltrate these communities, he would have had to publicly renounce the fact that he's Mormon. Oh, I'm not Mormon anymore. I'm a furry, right? So I doubt it's any coincidence that the one politician that they show on their website at the Utah University is Mitt Romney. So if you doubt the Mormon CIA connection, if you doubt the connections to this program, this is the actual university website, and it has Mitt Romney in there, Mormon, giving the presentation, the intelligence community recruitment presentations to these kids. And it's not just a one-off, because if you go up to the top of the website and scroll over, it's Mitt Romney's picture on the top. It's not the president of the university. It's not the CIA directors that created the program. No, it's Mitt Romney that they put, Utah State University Center for Anticipatory Intelligence. Mitt Romney is at the head of it on the website. Okay, if you do not know about the historical connection between the Mormons and the CIA, I don't even know. I've struggled with a way to catch you up and tie it into all of what we're seeing play out in current events right now. I've studied this for decades and decades, and there's so much information. It all makes perfect sense, but I can't Vulcan mind meld. So what I've decided to do is I've chosen one whistleblower, and this whistleblower is pretty much standard. They say the same thing. All of these people who are coming out of this, some of them call it satanic ritual abuse. Some of them call it the CIA trauma-based mind control program, MK Ultra. Just kind of depends on who you're trying to reason with. You know, we have to choose our words wisely as we deliver this information. So it's easy to, in the Christian community, just call it what it is. We're dealing with the Antichrist. This is a satanic cabal. But if you're dealing with unsaved people who are secular and you're trying to talk to them in the context of just technology and straightforward science, then we often just say the MK Ultra, the CIA's trauma-based mind control programs, because they've had congressional hearings on those since the 1970s, and that's a way that we can, communicate with them. Where if you start saying Satan, 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 they think of the church lady jokes and their mind switches off.
And who could it have been? Let's see, I don't know. Let me think. Let me knock on Mr. Noggin. Who could trick us into doing that? Could have been Satan.
Okay, but the fact is that there is a long-standing connection, CIA-Mormon connection, that a faction, now not everybody is in on it, just like in every church that's been infiltrated, in every government agency that's been infiltrated, not everybody is in on it. This is literally an infiltration. So within the Mormon church, there is a satanic sect that works with the CIA in these programs. It's a good fit because the Mormons focus strongly on genealogy and bloodlines, just like the bloodlines of the Illuminati, and they select certain family lines, and these people do this to their own children. It's the story that you've heard in Kathy O'Brien, Nathan Reynolds. In fact, I've chosen J.R. Sweet as the whistleblower I would like to feature to show the parallels. J.R. Sweet essentially tells the exact same family story that Nathan Reynolds tells. Although he did not come from the Mormon church, he talks about more like New Agey witchcraft family lines. So here we have two completely different individuals that had parallel lives. Both of their grandfathers were involved in this, and there was sexual abuse, and then there was the trauma-based mind control, splitting them into being things as wild as assassins, just like we see with this Tyler Robinson. So this is where it's going to get kind of graphic and gross. So viewer discretion is advised from here forward. If you do have small children in the room, you may want to turn this off and do it later, or put your headphones on, or whatever you have to do. But I wouldn't recommend watching this in front of your children. So his website is the Mormon Monarch, just MormonMonarch.com. And there is a video series on Emma's channel, and I think she's got about 12 hours of interviews with him. It's broken up over 4 interviews. And I've watched all of those, and I've gone through his website, and I've traced the links and gone to other whistleblowers, and it's a lot of information. So I'm going to distill it from Emma's channel interviews. I'm just going to pull about 5 or 6 clips of him and show you the parallels with Tyler Robinson, this Mormon CIA connection that we saw going on in the Utah universities. And this picture down here in the lower left, that is J.R. Sweet when he was young. You know, looks like the typical Mormon, like Dylan Mulvaney before he became an operative. Now, I might pull clips from a couple of the different interviews on her channel, but most of the clips that I'm going to play right now are from this one right here, Season 3, Episode 39, J.R. Sweet, Operational CIA Monarch Mind Slave, LDS Church, MKUltra Secret Ops. Okay, and this first clip is when he was talking about when he was younger than Tyler Robinson. I think he was like high school age, young teen age, where he and his cousin were made to come in and put on a presentation. It's the same thing that Bryce Taylor said, Susan Ford, same thing Kathy O'Brien testified to, that they were brought before these leaders, these CIA directors like George Bush Sr., DOD, military government officials like Dick Cheney and such, where they were brought in to give demonstrations, basically, to these leaders in the intelligence agencies that, look, this is what these operatives can do. And in this clip, he recounts being brought in for this covert meeting, a surprise meeting that included members of his family who were were his handlers, basically, and men in suits from the intelligence agencies, and they had even brought in their prophet, the Mormon Church head great leader, right? So they have a prophet at all times. It's actually the exact equivalent of the Pope that they've placed over the Catholic Church. So, you know, the Pope is supposed to be Peter. It's the Peter, the prophet of their church. And in the Mormon Church, it's usually a descendant of Joseph Smith or a prophet that is over the entire church. And JR said that the prophet, Hinckley, had flown in just for this meeting, this presentation. So here on the screen, this is Gordon Hinckley. This is who, when you hear him speak of Hinckley, this is who he's talking about. This was at that time, the quote prophet of the Mormon Church. And I don't know if I'll find the clip, but he talks about in his interview that he was always around other Mormon children that were also involved in this program. His cousin was one of them, but I thought that was worth mentioning because, you know, when Tyler did leave the Utah University and go back home to go to UVU, he moved in with this Mormon kid that became his whatever, trans boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever thing. So you have 2 Mormon kids of the same age group that I believe were both in the program, which is exactly what JR says.
Me and this other kid, Chris, we were used in a presentation, and it was done in my uncle's basement in his office there. And we were used to show what it was that they were doing with us. And so I thought as a kid, you know, that I was going to hear the prophet speak, and I was just going to go to church, and that was that. But we went to church and we heard Hinckley talk, and it was really weird when he even arrived at all, because he came in through the side door after church had already started. And then he was seated up in the front, and he sat next to my uncle, and they talked for quite a while, and it looked like they were having quite the conversation. I can remember watching them, and I was like, my goodness, what is Gail doing talking with Hinckley? What are they talking about? Because you got to keep in mind, we're in the middle of the service. Someone's giving a talk, you know. Well, he was surrounded by bodyguards. And so then they all left, and then sacrament meeting ended, and Chris and we had been told that we're supposed to go back over to my uncle's house after church, and we're supposed to come back over there because there was something going on. And so we were told to head over there, and we got in our car. We drove over there. First, I talked to my cousin because I was a little nervous about it. I was like, why are we going over there? What's going on? Well, Chris and I were like, well, we better get over there. You know, I knew my uncle didn't like to be made to wait. And so we headed up there, drove up to the house. We went inside. Seemed like no one was there. We went down in the basement. You could say we'd gone through the presentation and all the aspects of everything we were going to cover in this presentation. And so we were made to We were made to strip naked there in front of Gordon. We were made to enact homosexual acts, have homosexual sex there in front of Hinckley. We were made to electrocute each other with a cattle prod in various ways. Yeah, my grandfather had brought the cattle prod. He was, not a very good person. And then we were made to show him assassinations, and not just how we do it, but how we would even die ourselves. And so, because as a mind slave, you mentioned disposability a little while ago. Well, you just might be disposable. And there are a lot of folks in the project that are disposable, but what are called the chosen are not, we're going to say, disposable. You could be used as disposable if it was for some big purpose, like some kind of cultural or social or political event, and you were going to die in it. You could be killed in that way. But for the general rule, I would say those that weren't of the chosen were the ones selected to be killed most of the time. But in this particular presentation, I was made to get on my knees, and I was buck-ass naked. We both were. And Chris held a knife to my throat. And they explained how, I would die and Chris would kill me. And Chris, he would have killed me, Emma. He was starting to push that knife into my throat. I could feel it pierce the skin. I could feel the blood running down my neck. And in my mind, I was like, oh shit, is Gail pissed at me? That's what was going through my head. Are they pissed at me? Did I do something? And this is it. Like, it's over. And so I started to turn my head because my uncle and Hinckley were talking, and this was all just normal stuff, like two, three guys all sitting around talking about it. Though there were several others in the room, but those guys were there as security. But they were just talking and about these things as I'm there on my knees, and I had to turn my head so that my uncle, when he finally looked my way again, could see that I was bleeding and that Chris was about to kill me. And my uncle was like, "Hey, Chris, don't kill Johnny. What are you doing? Don't kill him. We're not going to kill him right now." And so he took the knife away, and they didn't kill me, which is good. I'm glad to be alive. But we also demonstrated pain as well. But right after that, we demonstrated what they do to not talk, to program us to not talk, because that was a big question Hinckley had. How do you keep them from talking? So after this presentation, Emma, I was going to be moved into a position. I was supposed to be in some kind of internship. I don't quite understand it. I was being moved to the Salt Lake area, to Sandy, Utah, and I was going to be under Hinckley in some kind of an internship thing. That's the reason that I went and met Thomas Monson and met with Ehring, was because I was supposed to be moved up there.
So hopefully you can start to see the parallels. But the next clips that I'm going to play are more specific about their assassination training and how it is exactly what Tyler Robinson did. And also, it's probably just another coincidence that the prophet Hinckley, that probably rang a bell with you. You were like, where have I heard that name? And of course, that's because John Hinckley Jr. was the assassin in the Ronald Reagan assassination attempt. But don't worry, DARPA's Google, the Alphabet Corporation, Google makes it clear that John Hinckley Jr. is not from a Mormon family. He's just the direct descendant of Joseph Smith. His family's not Mormon, while he is related to Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon Church. So nothing to see here.
And be involved with things of that nature. There were also people, Emma, that were there being programmed for acting, which is interesting to me. And so in the program, a lot of people are programmed for different life paths, I would call them. And so for me, I was being raised in a family where we got rid of people for the federal government. That's what we did as a family. And we also got rid of people with the Satanic Network. And the Satanic Network that I was involved with is directly connected to the Mormon Church, which is, it's just too bad that the religious institutions are involved with these things. But that's somewhere that Satanists hide. And so the Mormon Church is well aware of trauma-based mind control programming, and they're directly involved with it. They provide generationally abused children to the church. One of the big things in the church, for example, is genealogy. That genealogy that they're working on is also used to find elite family bloodlines, satanic family bloodlines, and they're able to follow that, and they're able to work with those children. This helps them in the project. And so people like me, because we disassociate and we have multiple personalities for multiple purposes, we're used for a lot of nefarious and illegal activities by the federal government. And so you'd be brought in for basically the dirty deeds of the federal government, what they needed to do that could not be out in the open, and they needed to have full deniability of it. And so I was involved with things like assassinations, for example, where we would be sent in and we would get rid of people. I was used in Japan, for example, over in Kobe, Japan. That was in 1997, I want to say. And I was taken over there, and we got rid of a man named Masaru Takumi. And I was a sniper that was positioned up on a roof.
Okay, so we all know Tyler Robinson was also positioned up on a roof. I guess what would make this operation different is that it was more, to me, appears to me, that it's more similar to the Thomas Crooks operation, that he was also placed up on a roof, but these two appear to be the decoys or the patsies for the actual assassination operation, that there are other shooters. So this clip I'm going to play right now shows how by the time the shot actually went off, because now they've juxtaposed different angles from different cell phone footage, so now we can see the official story of him breaking down a weapon and leaving and everything is ridiculous. Because when you align the various angles, you can see that when the shot goes off, he's already running off the roof. So whether his programming broke and he's like, get out of here, or whether he was up there getting in position and thought that, you know, he was just doing some training exercise and he himself heard the shot and took off running. Either way, it definitely does not match the official story.
Footage. It was Blake Bednarz who just first broke this footage, and he sent me this video, and he goes, listen, look at, man, he goes, from this CCTV video, from where the FBI is showing us here, you could actually see the sniper's prone position. So when they first zoomed out on that footage from when it very first started, you could actually see the position where Tyler would have, quote unquote, been laying on that roof. And it was Blake who sent me the footage originally. And he goes, hey man, he goes, check this out in the cafeteria view. So if you switch to the cafeteria view, you can actually see the man running across the roof, right? Really slow motion. You clearly see somebody moving across that roof. Okay, now the question is, when was he running? Now there's another video I sent your team, and it's actually, you're going to start to see the crowd here. You're going to see the crowd, and the crowd's going to start to crouch down, okay? So if we put that into this slow motion feed that I sent you, and we scrub back and forth, you're going to see the crowd go up and down, up and down, up and down, right there. See how it goes? So you can see the crowd actually getting ready to sit down, and you move it back.
And he's already running. And he's already running if you look at the rooftop.
Bingo, right?
Then in this picture, they overlaid multiple cameras from, see, Charlie would be right here where the push pin is. So they lined up the audio of the shot from all of these different angles. So these were all exactly aligned. And you can see the radius of where the shot is. You know how they'll do like pop thump in the analysis, and they'll say, okay, the shooter had to be 100 yards away because, you know, of the acoustics of it. Okay, so they did that for all of these. So like take this biggest one, say they analyzed it from there, and they're like, the shooter has to be, you know, X amount, 120 yards away from this camera. So this is the radius. He had to be somewhere here on this circle. And they did that with every single camera, right down to these little ones over here. And look how close it is. The shooter has to be this far away from this camera. Now look where all of these line up. They all intersect at this one point, which shows that the sniper, the shot didn't come from Tyler Robinson over on the roof at all. I mean, this is science, and this is just more evidence that their narrative that the wound we saw was the entry wound and came from a frontal shooter it's complete BS. And the actual shooter was positioned where all of those circles intersected, which is above, behind, and to the right. So it came through, and what we saw was the exit wound. So the FBI needs to stop lying to us because we're not retarded. They treat us like we're all so stupid. Okay, so that's enough of that. Let's move on from that. So the MK Ultra program, like J.R. Sweet was talking about, that they use, the trauma-based mind control, is such an old school, obsolete way of mind controlling people. So although all of the testimonies from the 40s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, all through the 90s are so valuable just to understand the crime syndicate, the way it actually works, and all of it, everything they say is valuable. I appreciate their courage to come forward. I mean, like Russ Dizdar talked about, many of these people, these sleeper cells and the black that have been programmed and ready for this black awakening that's coming, when they tried to tell somebody their life experience and what is really going on, they were just thrown in mental hospitals. So it's no small deal for these whistleblowers to come out and tell us anything at all. So I appreciate it so much. But all that being said, I want to move on to the next generational mind control, the N3. The first N in the N3 stands for next generation. So this next generation mind control is full and total mind control. This is hive mind linked into the AI, neural lace, mind control. It's possession, technological possession. And all roads lead to the AI. All roads don't lead to Rome. All roads lead back to the AI, the all-seeing eye. The AI is their all-seeing eye. This is the Antichrist surveillance system. This is the Antichrist mind control system. This is the Antichrist one world monetary system. That's why we see the all-seeing eye on top of the pyramid on our money, because it's always been part of the plan to change us over to digital currency, to get us completely under the all-seeing eye, their AI God. They want it to see everything. And we're pretty much there, folks. That's what this is all about. I believe a certain percentage of the population, we call them the bloodlines of the Illuminati, or whatever you prefer, the Nephilim bloodlines, the transhumanists, the genetic hybrids. Anyway, a certain percentage of the population are already marked. They're already augmented. They already serve the, quote, New World Order that, again, is written on our money. Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? Exactly what Elon Musk posted on day 2. After on day 1, he puts a picture of himself in the Oval Office. Let that sink in, with his famous let that sink in. Yeah, not Trump. He thought that he had marched his technocracy right into a controlling position. And it doesn't seem to be playing out that way. But then on day 2, yeah, he openly posted it. He's the AI guy. This is their new world order. It's actually an old, very old world order. But they have helped it rise again. It has been released from the pit. And this entity is doing so much more than surveillance. So much more. It doesn't just use human vessels as drones, humanoid avatars that it can control. It also has a literal drone army, like the drones over New Jersey. I mean, these are all tests. This system is up and running. And this whole, quote, UFO invasion and the drone swarms over New Jersey and all of that stuff, it all plays into this one thing, the entity. Now that we're into UFO disclosure, they have changed their language. Instead of saying extraterrestrial life forms, now they say non-human intelligence. That's their talking point. They've changed it to non-human intelligence, artificial intelligence, non-human intelligence. And they've changed UFO to UAP, which is essentially a drone. So they're saying what we're dealing with here is artificial intelligence and drones, which is what we've been saying forever. Which brings us full circle back around to DARPA's Project N3. So this is my pinned post over on my X account. I keep it right at the top it's outdated, because it's from January, but it's a thread that explains how all of these current events that we're seeing are related to this one project. AI, mind control, enslavement project. So I originally posted this because there was a lot of activity back then in January. It was right before the inauguration. I didn't have time to make videos. The last one I had made was right after the election. But I wanted to get this information out because people were seeing all of these seemingly unrelated phenomena. That was when the New Jersey drone swarms happened all along the East Coast, and it went on and on for days and days. And then we had the Las Vegas Tesla bomber, who was this drone expert from Fort Bragg. And then we have this guy here on the left, who was the Bourbon Street attack in New Orleans. Probably just a coincidence that all three of these guys had ties to the Special Operations military base at Fort Bragg. And it's probably worth mentioning right here that if you go and look up Tulsi Gabbard's Psychological Operations Command, you can see that it is headquartered at Fort Bragg. So I know a lot of people would look at these three incidents or these three individuals and say, what on earth did they have in common? Here we have a drone expert that was allegedly on the run and then shows up delivered in an autonomous vehicle, a self-driving AI driving vehicle, dead with a gunshot wound to the head. But nobody at the hotel heard any gunshots or anything, but they're saying he drove there and did it right in front of the hotel. But, it's my guess that the autonomous vehicle delivered him there. Then this guy comes out of the base as a whistleblower saying somebody is hacking his brain, that not just his brain, but his dreams. And then the guy in the middle, of course, was the second Trump assassination attempt, the golf course attempt, the guy who mysteriously went and served in Ukraine all the time and, a wind-up, a typical Manchurian Candidate type. So most people would say, okay, those are three very different things. Those are not the same thing. But they do have something in common. Besides Fort Bragg, they have N3 in common. So let's jump back to my pinned thread because it's kind of an outline and I'll just go through it really fast. We already talked about what is N3, and that's DARPA's NNN, Next Generation Non-Surgical Neurotechnology. And then these are quotes directly from the website. We already talked about, instead of surgery, N3 is, quote, introducing the nanomaterials intranasally, intravenously, and or intraorally. We really didn't talk about intraorally, but that's, self-explanatory. It's in our food supply. It's in our water supply. It's in our pharmaceuticals, the medicines we take, even over-the-counter stuff. We've done tons of videos on that in the past. Then we already did a segment on intranasally and intravenously, which would be like the free nasal swab test kits they gave out and the COVID injections. Not just COVID injections, but you get it. Point number 3 is really important because a lot of people think about a brain-machine interface. They're thinking about, how I can use my brain to control a cursor on the screen or whatever, that it's all your brain controlling something. But N3 is bidirectional. Again, this is in quotes. These are quotes. I just tried to distill it from the websites. The DARPA.military website and all of the biodefense research sites, all the links are below. You can go look it up and see that these are direct quotes. Okay, so the bidirectional thing. N3 is a, quote, bidirectional brain-machine interface for able-bodied service members. It doesn't just read brainwave data, but it also sends command signals back into the human brains. So when we get to the part about like drone pilots telepathically or whatever controlling the drones, it's bidirectional things. So the drone pilots in the N3 program they're sending their brainwave commands to the drones, like they're a pilot, but they're not using their hands or anything. But then the AI drone is also sending them information to their brain. So it's two-way, it's bi-directional. The AI is putting thoughts in their brain. It is giving them access to what it can see from above. You know, from the drone cameras and stuff, it's pulling all sorts of data, thermal imaging data. I mean, it's something out of Iron Man, you know, how he sees the thing on the inside of his mask, that it's bi-directional. So the AI is feeding them thoughts and information, and they are sending their brainwave commands to the drone. That is the N3 drone pilot program, which is the introduction about how that third individual, the whistleblower who was in the drone command that was on the run cross country trying to get some information out and then showed up with a bullet in his head in front of Trump Tower. Yeah, that's how a drone whistleblower is linked to N3. Number 5, it, quote, has the precision to read from and write to 16 independent channels within a 16 millimeter cubed volume of neural tissue within 50 milliseconds. Each channel, this is what we're talking about, real time. You know, like all the clips we've shown so far and in past videos, it says, well, AI can do this in real time, Jade Helm, it needs to take in all the data and make decisions to deploy, you know, strikes on terrorist groups from drones in real time. So this is what we're talking about, within 50 milliseconds. Each channel is capable of specifically interacting with sub-millimeter regions of the brain with a spatial and temporal specificity to provide the ability to interface to multiple points in the brain at once. So, you know, we've talked about lots of different things over the last few years, everything from smart viruses to isolating gene sequences from algae that react to Li-Fi and putting those gene sequences in humans so that they can use Li-Fi to activate certain neurons in the brain. So you have that approach. Then we have all of these different nanosensors, you know, that plug into different specific neurons. And somebody walking on this journey with us might just think, well, that's a lot of different things. Which one are they doing? And that's the point. They're not just doing one. They're doing it all. If it is a functional technology, an available technique to jack into the brain, they're going to jack into the brain. To, quote, provide the ability to interface multiple points in the brain at once. And it's not just one university or one scientist. They financed multiple approaches. Number 6, the DARPA N3 project, quote, tapped 6 academic teams to engineer different BMIs, brain-machine interfaces. Number 7 and 8, we pretty much already discussed when we talked about COVID-19 and the injections. But straight from the N3 website, quote, one of the projects is Moana, which uses gene therapy to modify the neurons in the brain. The modified neurons absorb the light, optogenetics, differently when they are activated and can be activated by a magnetic field due to the modified proteins. Like a spike protein. Quote, Moana uses special viruses to deliver the genes, like gain-of-function viruses straight out of Wuhan. And for all of those people who believe that viruses don't exist, we hear you. And for all of those people who say this is just the electromagnetic radiation, the 5G that's making us sick and all of that. Yes, we've covered the electric rainbow. We've talked all about it, and we know that what they are calling viruses are not viruses, but they have always been nanobots. And if you look at the only isolated virus, a bacteriophage, under the electron microscope, it is clearly a nanobot. Scientifically, we've known forever that viruses aren't alive. They're not bacteria. They can't be killed with antibiotics, because they're not alive. They're robots. I don't know. I still think of them as disembodied AI, because when we talk about AI, we're talking about, you know, like a computer sitting on our desk, a computer that is linked to a server that is like some big piece of hardware, like a computer virus. It gets in our computer. It infects like an actual computer, and you can throw your computer away and get another computer that's not infected with the virus, and you know, you can start over. But these are disembodied computer viruses. They can float in the air. but they are parasitic. They don't have some battery pack on them like a remote control, car or something. They can live, what do we know? Some of them 24 hours, 72 hours before they have to get powered by a human body. They can only multiply themselves, self-replicate, and self-spread using a human body. They can't just like land on your kitchen counter and they turn into, like a million more viruses. No, they have to use your cells to make copies of themselves. But essentially they are parasites that make us the bioweapon, because then they use our cells to replicate themselves, and then we breathe them out, sneeze them out, and spread them. Just like the vaccines. They absolutely, shedding is a bit of a misnomer, but yes, this is the technology. It's self-spreading and self-replicating. So this is what I wrote in May. I said, this nanotechnology rollout is the single greatest threat to humankind right now. No political issues matter, no economic issue matters, unless we stop this transhumanist agenda immediately. Even these external world wars don't matter at all if we don't win this biological war against the AI biotech. The technocracy doesn't need to control us at the barrel of a gun. They have already unleashed biological AI warfare to enslave humankind from within our own bodies. Everybody's like, oh, the economy and this and that. I'm like, all the money in the world is not my idea of a, quote, golden age if we have lost our free will to a non-human intelligence.
Free will, that's over.
And I think that's a pretty good conclusion to this video. I'm going to have to leave it at that. I'm out of time, as you can see here on the screen. I didn't come close to giving you guys all the information that I have. This is 5 hours and 41 minutes here on the screen. I'm going to cut the last 3 hours off of this that as you see, I already have taped because I'm out of time. I've been taking my night shift hours. I work. I only get about 4 hours sleep every night. Every night. That's not like long nights. That's every night. I get about 4 hours sleep. I haven't had a day off in, 30 days or more. And I've been using my night shift hours that I should be posting on eBay to pay the bills to do this video. And I'm just out of time and I'm exhausted. So I'm going to give you guys the update on the Truth Library, the bookstore, and all of that right now. Please don't click off because this is a dire, dire need. I am at the end of it. They are going to take down my website, not my channels, my actual website. So I've had my website up for 21 years. It was a good run. But if you guys click off and nobody cares and nobody helps, then this is the end. They stamped it out. They did it. So in my greatest hour of need this past year, I had 6 people living here. 6 people living here. And none of them paid any rent or helped with the mortgage or the gas bill or electric bill or the water bill. And I had a water leak. Lost over 500,000 gallons. That's a true story. So a couple people did send me PayPal donations and it went right to that water leak. It's a horror story. The whole thing has been a horror story. But anyway, in my greatest hour of need, of course, what happens? They shut down my Give, Send, Go, but I guess it didn't matter because it was shut down for inactivity. Dear Janice, we hope this email finds you well. We are reaching out to inform you that your fundraiser campaign, Jesus Billboards and the Extreme Reality Check podcast, has been unpublished due to donation inactivity. So I haven't taken it off the website and stuff, but it doesn't matter because the next email I'm going to show you is that they're taking down the website. So after 21 years of service and tens of millions of souls reached, I can't scrounge up $368 to keep my website up. So this is due, it was due this month, and my auto pay bounced for the first time in 21 years. So I got this notice. Dear Janice, recently we were unable to bill the credit card, blah, 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 registered to your Homestead website account. We know that you've put a lot of time and effort into building your website and want to make sure your service is not interrupted. Since we were unable to bill your credit card, we have suspended your account. For the next 30 days, visitors will still be able to view your site without interruption while you update your billing information. However, some services may be suspended until payment is received. If you do not update your billing information within the next 30 days, your account will be closed and visitors will no longer be able to get to your site. So, it's the end of it. It appears it may really be the end of Extreme Reality Check. Because I don't have $368 and there are no more hours in my life to give. There's no more hours to work. And they've got me giving them all to the world right now. And you saw the inactivity in donations is, I'm almost alone in this. So I'm hoping there are still some of you out there that think there might be value in this work. But if not, I still love God and I trust God and I'll lay my mantle down. I'll lay it down. I hate to see the beast win. I've worked so hard fighting him, but, it takes more than me. And likewise, my auto pay for the post office box bounced. So I have until the 30th of this month, which is 2 days, or they're going to close my post office box. So even if there were good-hearted people who wanted to send donations via regular snail mail, they wouldn't get here in time. So I don't know. I fought hard. I gave it my all. I poured myself out. And I don't know. Either God will move and we'll stay alive, or we won't. At the same time, as I've been going bankrupt, I have been doing all I can to get the gospel out to people. And so I set up this on eBay to liquidate all of the store inventory that so many of you contributed to, and to reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I never quit fighting. And so at the end of this video right now, in fact, I'm going to click this off and I'm going to put on the segment that was at the end of the 6-hour video that I didn't have time to finish editing tonight. And so it may seem a little more upbeat than I am right now because I'm really tired right now, and I taped that several days ago, actually before I got all these emails. The devil always does me that way. He doesn't just, it's always something, a battle after. No, I'd celebrate for one battle at a time. He always dogpiles me with like everything at once. So I got all of those emails after I had already started this video and taped this coming segment. So I might be a little more upbeat in the segment because I attached the website and I ordered cards and everything, and I've been sending out gospel tracts and all the orders with the cards linking to the website. But now if the website is being closed, in 10 days or so, all of this is for naught. I mean, not this. I'll still get rid of the inventory, which will, keep my lights on and stuff. But as far as the spread of the gospel, this whole segment that I'm getting ready to show you was taped assuming that I could continue sending out these cards and stuff in all these orders, linking back to the website. So anyway, it is what it is. I'm exhausted. I can hardly keep my eyes open. Here was that segment, and I'll just close it out after I tack that segment on. I love you guys. I hope to see you in the future. I hope we can stay alive, but if not, it's been a really great run, and I love you guys, and I wish you all the best. All the best. We're going to make it through this. And if I don't see you on this side, I'll see you on the flip side. I'll see you in heaven. And I'll be the one that's running at you, like jumping on you like a spider monkey, giving you a big hug. I love you. God bless you and yours. Okay, so what I decided to do was just to set up a store over on eBay. And I hate it because part of the whole Truth Library bookstore that we were building was also for us to have a place to get together in person, because again, if we're going to have to back off of these devices, I wanted to build a community and I wanted to meet a lot of you in person and, be able to discuss things that aren't being monitored by the AI, to be able to have a conversation not by text or phone call, which is also monitored by the AI. We've done lots of videos on that in the past. I know it sounds crazy, but even sending texts in the same room to one another, and it will delete our text. Certain texts it would not send through with certain information in them. So we don't know really how governed we are by this artificial intelligence, but yeah, part of this was that we wanted to have a place to gather and to speak offline, off of the digital beast system. But anyway, it doesn't look like we have enough support to finish that. So what I have done is liquidate all of the inventory that we built for this truth library, which is tens of thousands of valuable books and DVDs. This way I can still get the information out into households all around the world. I've been sending these books and DVDs out now for a while, and this online bookstore has customers literally all over the world. So I know that at least there are hundreds and thousands of families who have hard copies of information, of this information on DVD, the books, all of the books that I cite in the videos that I've been posting for years are available in this bookstore. So like you can go to books and magazines or DVDs. Say go to books and magazines, it's categorized. Here it is. Like when I talk about all of the different books and stuff in the videos, they're usually listed in links and citations below. Not in my re-uploads I'm doing now, but on the original videos, if you go back and you can find those that they've been archived somewhere. But the actual tangible copies of these were in this bookstore, this truth museum that we built together. It's not the Christian bookstore that you go, down to the mall into and all you get is Joel Osteen and, stuff like that. This is a real hardcore remnant awakened Christian bookstore that has all of the censored information. It was focused on censored information. So you can go and get copies of, everything they call conspiracy theory from all of the censored influencers and, stuff that all of us are interested in. I mean, if you're watching this video, then you probably are interested in this type of thing. And, the inventory is pretty low right now because although I have 10,000 items or more still to post from the bookstore, I have to post them. Like I have to take the pictures and write the descriptions, and all of that is very time intensive. So working 3 jobs as a single mom, I'm really doing the best I can. And they sell so fast, which shows what a good idea this actually was. If we could have had enough Christians, to support this type of an effort, this type of a Christian bookstore that's not your typical Christian bookstore, because they sell as fast as I can post them. I can't keep more than 200 or 300 items in the online bookstore at a time because I'm packing. Like I'll stand all day on my feet, 10 hours, packing these books and DVDs to send out to people. So it's a shame that we just couldn't get together enough support to do it. Not that doing it this way isn't an incredible blessing anyway, that I still get to get all of this information, hard copies, into the households of people, because I don't need to have it all hoarded up in one bookstore, like Fahrenheit 451, where they can just come bomb me or something. I want this. I want everybody to have the materials that they need. But it was always my dream to do both, that we could have the meeting place and a physical bookstore and cafe to be together, to communicate with other humans one-on-one without being monitored by the AI, and to gather together, but also be selling the inventory online all the time to generate, not even to make profit, just enough to cover bills and to restock so that it's a perpetual thing. Like you can see right here by the dates, these are to be shipped by the 16th and 17th. So all of these are books and sets of books that I haven't even shipped yet, that just sold. And you can see where I cleared entire racks of inventory where I had, sets of stuff that are completely sold out. I've sold every single set of them. I mean, it's just flying off the shelves. And those were just the items that I just typed in book to pull up what has sold recently today. So those were just books. Here's more DVDs, complete sets. Chuck Missler, you gotta love that. So all the Vaxxed series, I mean, this is all 16th and 17th stuff that has to go out. It's just now sold. I mean, here we go, medical mafia documentaries, larger lots. Oh, and the Vaxxed documentaries, RFK Jr.'s Vaxxed documentaries from the Children's Health Alliance. You can see that whole rack just got liquidated. I'm down to 0 available. So, I mean, these sell all day long. I've sold, gosh, I don't know, hundreds of copies of these documentaries. So it's not that it wasn't a good idea. And this is great information. I mean, this is President Eisenhower's, the UFO, mainstream stuff like Mark Dice, Dinesh D'Souza, because I want to bring in traffic. People will be like, oh, well, that's like Fox News stuff. Hey, I started out on Fox News. Everybody starts their journey somewhere. And like you noticed, the name of the store itself is the message. Jesus is coming. That's my eBay name. So not only all of this inventory that I'm sending out to people daily, but people who never buy anything. I know they've been told, if they came and they browsed this store, they've been told Jesus is coming. They don't have to buy a thing. The message is right there. He says, lift up my name and I will draw all people unto myself. So I may not have 2 pennies to rub together, but I can still do that.